Here we are again. It's Café Courage time, and you're wondering, why is this guy speaking English and not German? It's the first ever English edition of the Café Courage. Courageous stories of the work life or the life as such. This time, and I'm going to just remove this one to introduce Rainer.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome to everyone who's connected right now live on LinkedIn or who is watching afterwards on YouTube, or maybe following our podcast version of this. You may be wondering. You may have seen the invite, and you may have seen that we invited first one person, and then we kind of changed, or I changed the invite quite late. And this has a reason, because the universe has gifted us. And Rainer, I think your tongue is loose. You want to say something?
Yeah, it's really the case that it was magic how this happened. As always, there is something what you have planned, and then there is life. And I'm so happy that today we can introduce Deepa. I had the opportunity yesterday to talk to Deepa just a bit, and it was so amazing. So that I'm quite sure that everyone out there will be astonished about what Deepa will tell us today about what has happened in her life, how she's living, what she does for living, and yeah, how gratitude, community, alternative forms of capital, and zero waste fit together in one life. And I would say, well, welcome, Deepa, here in our
Thank
Café Courage.
you. Thank you, Rainer Bastin, for having me over.
And for everyone who just connected, you know, there is a small saying below each of our names, and we talked with Deepa what would fit. And maybe you can see it, maybe you're just hearing it. So it says Cosmic Traveler. And it leads to a bit of what we talked about before going online. And maybe just introduce yourself as a cosmic traveler, or as anything you would like to introduce yourself.
For the last 10 years, I've been living out of two bags, and I live with whoever invites me. So that really expands my definition of home, family, and friends. And life has brought me to Europe for the first time. And here I'm exploring my European families.
That sounds really like an unusual way of living. And
working.
And working, of course. How did you come to this way of life and work?
So I had about 7 years of the corporate regular career, like 9 to 6, and even when I was in that stream, I knew it was not okay. It didn't fit me. It was too contracting. And so I got very lucky. In 2009, the recession came and I got fired. And I said, okay, so what am I going to do? And because I'd already paid my rent in Bombay, one of the biggest metropolitans in probably Asia. And I said, okay, so the rent is already paid. So I'm going to just relax for 2 months and maybe try to find another job. But the intention of relaxing was much higher than finding a job. So I just started reading all the books I had bought in my life, and I started using all the body scrubs I had, and long showers, long breakfast, and started going to all these plays I was missing because of my job. And I said, wow, this is great. This is how I want to live, slowly, intentionally. And if I want to take 1 hour to eat a papaya, I should have that 1 hour to eat my papaya or mango. So that 1 year has turned into 14 years. And here we are.
Amazing. You just brought to my made me aware of a completely different perception of time,
Mm-hmm.
as you mentioned it, and at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, how strong your constraints must have been before,
Mm-hmm.
as I felt there was a really big difference in between
Mm-hmm.
two ways of living.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And Deepa, what has changed for you looking back to the time where those constraints were part of your living?
Well, one of the first things I understood about myself during these 2 months and elongated 2 months of time off was that I was multi-skilled, and I can tap into different skills depending on where I am. So I realized that I don't want to do a job, and but I still want to travel, meet people, explore cultures and food across India and outside. So I started traveling through India, and wherever I was, for example, I would go to a small village or small town, and I would ask people that I have a master's in English, and I would like to teach English to children, and anybody who can house me and who will house me and feed me, and I can teach English to their kids in their house, and if more people want to come, they're welcome. And this is how I got house and food. And sometimes I would offer gardening, and then later I remember I was in another beautiful place in the mountains in the Himalayas, and I came across a beautiful bakery. And I just walked up to the owner and I said, you have all these beautiful meals and food, and I cannot pay for this, but I can work for you, and you can just exchange my skills for food. And he said, okay, we needed one person who speaks in English to all our guests because all the foreigners were visiting this place in India, and I became the I don't know the meet and greet person, and all the meals were on the house, and I could sit with them and chat with them and have as many apple pies as I wanted. So I started finding out that how to use the skills that I have and the skills that I like to have to live a life of to do the kind of work I would like to do. So I started this new navigation of discovering new skills within me, and maybe from past lives, tapping into skills from other lives. So yeah, like I've not had a career since 14 years, but I've fulfilled many roles of a housekeeper, carer, listener, gardener, a cook, a cleaner, a person who writes love letters on somebody's behalf, and designing yoga journeys and working for trekking companies. I mean, everything. So whenever I thought, I would like to spend a year trekking through the Himalayas, so I would quickly write to the biggest trekking companies in India, and then one of them will reply and they say, yeah, sure, come on board. We can use these skills. So yeah, and not taking rejection as the end of the road. So if 10 people don't reply, I don't see it as rejection. I see it as okay, the 11th will reply. Great. So how do you navigate through rejection and the idea of abandonment and all these things? So that's how I navigated through all these issues.
A question which just came to my mind when you were reflecting on different stages of your past, and many changes, many different experiences. The question popped in my mind: what changed over the time? And maybe you can include your former career life a bit
Mhm, mhm.
contrasted. What changed about your personal decision making?
Um, I became more uh, courageous, like this show is called. I became more courageous to take decisions which were not wired into me because of my upbringing, education, my corporate career, and because I felt all those three revolved around fear and anxiety. Somehow all those decisions were based out of fear that if I make that decision, oh, will I waste a year? Or if I make that decision of just teaching English to some school kids in the village, will I, is it a waste of my time? So I started taking decisions without looking at this whole concept of wasting of time, which is so predominant also probably in Western cultures.
Mm.
And like for example, my mother said, we've sent you to the best school and the best college, and here you want to design dry toilets. Who cares? And I said, I care. It's important for me to have a dry toilet for me in the city, and I know it's possible, and I'm going to study and find a mentor and make it in Delhi, in this house. And my mother said, wow, what a waste of education. So my whole perception about um like the time I enjoy wasting is not wasted. So it all shifted like that, no? And I started doing things where I really felt that this is good for me, and eventually it's good for uh, probably many people. So I designed the first dry toilet in the city in India. That's in my house. And my mother said, if you don't see it and can't smell it, you can do it. And I said, okay. So I got it right in one go. And people said, how did you know how to do this? You didn't study. I said, yeah, but I studied later. I found a book called Humanure. I studied it, and I wrote to the author of the book saying, I'm in India. I'm so inspired by a book. I want to design my own dry toilet. Can you be my long distance guide? And he wrote back and he said, sure. I'm very glad that you wrote to me. So, to take chances, we have to take a lot of chances, but sadly, we don't take chances because of that one rejection we had long
Mm.
time back. And it's like hitchhiking. 10 cars will say no, but then there'll be one car, and you only need that one car. You don't need 10. You need one car to get to A to B. So, yeah, so I invite people and also myself all the time to take more chances. And as I grow old, as I'm growing older, I realize, wow, the fear keeps coming in, and it's continuous inner work dodge it to befriend it, to talk to it, to say, hey, okay, I know you're there, but I really want to do this. So maybe you can relax a little bit. How do we befriend all these feelings within us? The many Deepas in one Deepa, the many Rainars in one Rainar, the many Bastians in one Bast. How do we befriend all these different people within oneself? So many universes in one body.
Hearing you about talking about waste, Deepa, I had something in mind like, yeah, is it really wasting or is it more a bit like sharing is caring? So I have enough of something, I give it to someone else who
Mm-hmm.
is probably the need,
Mm-hmm.
and it felt like that there is no real need in the world. It's always someone who has something that
Mm-hmm.
someone else needs, and
Mm-hmm.
just bring those two people together. Or yeah, I'm asking for something, and someone who said, well, I've enough. For me, it's not a
Mm-hmm.
lose. For
Mm-hmm.
me, it's then helping someone else.
Yes, that's why we have to unpack all these definitions. Like, what is waste? It's the resource at the wrong place. It's the same with skills. Maybe somebody has a skill of fixing doors, and he is in the shoe shop. He just needs to move to the other shop to be able to use the skills to do something he likes to do. So we are always that's the problem in a lot of careers why people are unhappy, because they're always round pegs and square holes, and therefore people are miserable even in the best of jobs, so-called best of jobs with everything. People are still miserable. Why? Because they're not doing what they want to do.
And Deepa, it I have right now the picture in mind like a big corporation. There are a
Mm-hmm.
lot of silos and functions and offices, and there
Mm-hmm.
are people in with their skills,
Mm-hmm.
but this skill sharing inside a company is very often not given. Even then,
Mm-hmm.
outside of a company, it's always like, ah, yeah, I don't, I'm not
Yeah.
allowed to talk to a different company, and I
Yeah.
see that it's working if we share our knowledge, like in the corporate exchange,
Yeah.
Konzernaustausch.
Mm-hmm.
We see that's
Mm-hmm.
working. What would be your tip or your advice for people working in the big corporations, how they could probably overcome those barriers?
I would first say start small and start within your corporate. For example, a very thick sharing culture. And if we can have it within the corporate, then we can look at with with many corporates. You can have a sharing culture of knowledge, skill, things, resources. So much can be shared because we are always sitting in excess. And to design you can have a gratitude room where people bring in things from their homes which are brand new and they want to share it with anybody who's there. You can have a board where people can say, hey, I need uh, uh, I don't know. I need a speaker or I need a laptop. And if anybody has a spare, can you share? And how to have a sharing culture within the corporate. And even like what we spoke yesterday, I mean, my dream is to see corporates inviting people to have a, even sharing inviting employees of all levels sharing their leaves, because people have lots of leaves and the people who really need leaves sometimes they don't have. So how can you just gift your leaves to somebody who really needs it? An accident in the home, a illness, somebody who just wants to take a week off to go to a place he has been trying to, but there are no leaves. But like anything that's not being used can be shared, and we don't have to force anybody to share, but how to create an atmosphere where people are invited to share. And
And here, Deepa, it's probably it's the German mindset when you say, yeah, sharing leave. Yeah, but is this possible? How does HR with this? What is the process behind? That was exactly popping up in my mind, and I said,
Mhm.
but you have seen this way of work, that you have seen that it works in different
Yes,
continents, in
yes,
different countries,
yes,
in smaller towns, in little
yeah.
villages, in bigger towns. So what is the main difference when you compare all the last 9, 14 years of your life and the different people? What's the
It's
main difference?
uh, in some cultures we are, I don't know, designed to share. In some cultures we believe that interdependence is great, like in Indian cultures, in Latin American cultures, and in some cultures where we are very heavy with the idea of I, me, myself, or this toxic independence, then sharing becomes hard. And it says, oh, why should I ask that person for an extra lollipop if I can see he has 10? But I do this in Europe all the time, and especially when my partner and other people who I know who are Europeans are not around, when they are like away, then I'm always experimenting. Like, for example, I went to I was in Switzerland for 2 weeks, staying in a friend's house, and we went to this big festival called Badenfahrt. It happens once in 10 years. And I was somehow there, and every day I went to the festival because the bus was included in the pass. And then one day my partner decided to not come because he was too tired. So I said, wow, this is the day for experiments, so that he doesn't feel embarrassed or pushed or many things. So I went straight to the amusement park and I said, okay, which are the rides I want to do today? And then I said, okay, this one, that one, and that one. So I went to the counter. This is only 5 days back. This is very recent. And I went to them and I said, hi, I'm Deepa, and I write on alternate travel and alternate forms of capital in India. And I'm doing an experiment on generosity across the globe. And I want you to participate in this experiment by offering me just one ride. And they said, sure, there you go. They didn't even think. And these are Europeans, right? And so
Hmm.
I think when people are invited to play, they want to play. And
And
how
do you
to
have the
open these fields.
And do you have the feeling that people really feel if there is the intention that I want something just because I want more of something, or if it's something like you said, yeah, this is something I want to do, and you have probably enough, and I would like to have this. So, do you think that people feel this difference?
I think when you really ask openly, you enter the little window into their heart, because I never try to enter through the big door. The big door has a lock. So my interest is to find, like a robber, find a little window through the heart and then jump in. And then you can open the door from within because you're already inside.
Mhm.
So, but these are very ancient Indian cultural teachings I have been raised with. And when you're honest and vulnerable, people say yes. So out of the 5 people I asked for a ride, 3 people said yes. So that's, I feel, already like it's a majority.
And Deepa, I've seen in your well, in your outline, in your document you have
Mm-hmm.
created,
Mm-hmm.
that you are experimenting, or at least probably I don't know how to I don't even know how to ask.
Mm-hmm.
I just know that you have this community where you share more or less some things. Yesterday you have
Yes.
mentioned that you're traveling to India just because
Mm-hmm.
someone else is not really paying for it, but is spending air miles for it. How does that
Yes.
work?
Yes. So 10 years back, I wanted to find a forum online where I can share my things and skills, things which I'm not using and the skills which I have with people, and ask for things which I would like to have in my life and the skills I would like to learn or have in my life for something. But there was nothing like this. So I started Facebook forum because Facebook was really big 10 years back. And I started a forum called the Shop of the Big Hearted. This is the loose translation because the word is in Hindi, and that's the loose English translation. And I started it, and for the first 2 3 years, there was nobody on the forum, just me and one friend because you needed 2 people to start a group. And after 3 years, it just bombarded. I was only sharing things for 2 3 years, and then after 3 years, now it's like 15,000 people, and most people write there to say, "Hey, we have lots of mugs. This is the photo. We live here. If you're close by, come pick it up." So it's a generosity forum. No exchange, no barters, unconditional asking, unconditional receiving. And just a month back, I wrote on that forum that I need air miles to buy a ticket, and yeah, I would be grateful if somebody has credit card points or air miles to offer me. And somebody wrote to me and he said, I've been on that forum for so many years, and it's really inspiring, and I have some credit card points which can be converted into an air ticket, and that's the ticket I'm going to fly back to India on 15th of October. So yeah, ask and you shall receive, because this is the law of the universe. And when people say, "Oh, how did you think of this forum?" Like what you're asking, and I said, I didn't think of it. It's a gift that came from another space to me, because these things are done through us. We don't do them.
Since you have been on this journey for quite some time, the question came to my mind, looking at the whole period of time and all your
Mhm.
experiences in different locations worldwide.
Mhm.
What changed in the world as such? How did the evolution go in whatever way? Did you spot something?
I think I don't know about that, but I think the world changed me so much in the last. It's like I thought I am going into the world to change it, but it changed me even before I could think that I wanted to change it. It's the perspective,
Mhm.
it's how you see the world, it's the lens. And like all spiritual teachings take us to this place to of within, that everything is within the
Mhm.
universe, the cosmos, the 9 planets, the chakras, and how you see from within is how you see the world. So when people say, "Oh, it's so bad, and it's going to be so bad," and I say, "Really? I think it's great. What are you seeing? I see a big tree full of chestnuts ready to mature in a month, which I will eat. I'm on a call with these two strangers who invited me. I'm living through Europe through houses where people host me and invite me. So I said, wow. And I just had cheesecake for lunch. So it's so good. I mean, I don't see it like that. So the world changed how I saw the world, because I was always helped through all these journeys. And that's why I want to specifically talk about this one particular journey. When the pandemic came, I couldn't relate to the pandemic. I felt it was too restrictive, so I didn't do the lockdown, and I took my cycle, and I had one more crazy friend, and we just cycled through the pandemic across India from north to south. 2,400 kilometers without phone, without money, to see what will happen, you know. And
What did
and yeah, and my mother, of course, said, "Are you crazy?" And a lot of people said, "You guys are really crazy. People are not talking to any each other. They are not. Who's going to house you? Who is going to feed you? They're not even touching each other." And I said, "If you want," I told my mother, "if you want me to be fed, you feed somebody, and through the circle of gift, the food is going to come to me because the energy is spiral." And so we left. And in these 2 months, from north to south, 2,400 kilometers, not a single night did we sleep hungry, and not a single night we slept without shelter. And this is the pandemic. Imagine a non-pandemic time. So yeah, it's because I feel when you really surrender to the cosmos to say, okay, I have nothing, I am nothing. So yeah, off, give it to me. And the universe is waiting to give, because the universe is abundant. It is we who think it is scarce or feel scarce, but the universe is abundant. You plant one tree and there are like 1 billion chestnuts, and that one seed is like a whole tree. So we have to change this lens of scarcity and abundance. And yeah, and then those 2 months on the road, where we met so many people fed us. People used to fight over who will feed us, so we would say, well, we can eat at every house, we are so hungry, we're cycling. So, and then eventually I reached Oroville, 54-year-old community in India, and it's an international community. And then I had no plans, but somehow I lived there for 2 years without phone, without money, exchanging skills, and in 9 houses I lived. And then I said, okay. And everybody said, oh, it's in India, it's so easy, and it's the culture where people give. And I said, okay. And then I said, maybe I would like to do it in another country. And then an offer came. I got a little scholarship to fly into Brazil. So they took care of my tickets and visa just to get me to Brazil. And they offered me 3 contacts for the first 3 months so that I'm secure. And after 3 months, I was in the field of manifestation to play. And I lived through 27 houses. I lived through a year in Brazil without money, exchanging skills for food and room. And I lived with these strangers. And I'm sure I know them from other lives, because I know nobody in Brazil. I've never been there on that continent. So that's it. I feel it's the power of trust. When you trust, everything is manifested.
and I think you said it before, you when you talked about scarcity and abundance. It reminded me what you said quite early in our call, about narrow focus and wide focus.
Mm-hmm.
The narrower you focus, the less you see, and the more everything feels scarce.
Mm-hmm.
While looking at everything around you,
Mm-hmm.
having a wide perspective is
Mm-hmm.
showing you what really is, and that is just
Mm-hmm.
your from
Mm-hmm.
very standpoint that you are with the barriers you have,
Mm-hmm.
and possibly.
It's cultivated. It's cultivated over the last 14 years. It's like how you tend to your own garden inside.
And Deepa, when you say it's cultivated, for me it means like it could be cultivated somewhere else too. So what needs to be done that this trust, that this feeling to the universe, this connectiveness, this sharing, this community concept finds another garden and another garden and another garden, and some when the whole world lives in this momentum.
We small steps, small changes are deep changes. I mean, and like I say, I started with myself. I didn't start to change the world at all, and that's still not like the big intention. The big intention is still to transcend all the lenses and judgments and all the fear and anxiety within myself, because it still comes. The work is not done. That's why I'm still in this body. Every day the tests are coming, and and my interest is to look within deeply. And I feel that, for example, when I was in Brazil and I needed some money and for something, and I said, wow, I have to fundraise if I need some money to, to stay afloat in Brazil sometimes. And I said, oh, if I have to raise money for myself, I can raise money for the world. It's the same effort. And therefore, the Compassionate Money initiative got born. It got born out of my own need, but it got bought. It's for everybody. So how do we leverage what we need to to something that can help everybody? When you plant a garden, it can be for everybody, and so on and so forth. So I'm thinking from that lens that more for me is more for you, and more for you is more for me. And usually the corporates and the times they teach, mostly the education system, they teach us that more for you is less for the other, and therefore everybody wants to accrue, of everything. But it's the opposite. The more you share, the more you get. Because receiving and giving is not always happening in material terms. The receiver is the giver. At the same time, the giver is the receiver. Because we're receiving energetically. And sadly, the value for energetic exchange has it has not been understood to its full capacity. The trees are always giving oxygen. They never say, hey, today you gave me 1% carbon dioxide less, so I'm not going to give you enough tomorrow. Or the universe is not saying, yesterday you were really bad, so tomorrow you will get only 12 hours to live. I'm going to cut 12. Every day, abundantly, you're getting 24 hours. No, like, look at the unconditionality of the cosmos. No judgment, nothing. Every day you're getting chances to live your full potential. But what is you? What is full potential? We have to unpack all this stuff for ourselves, within ourselves.
You mentioned corporates, and I'm picking up on a question which Manuela gave on LinkedIn. Obviously, listening and
Mm-hmm.
watching us,
Mm-hmm.
she's asking: Are you still, or have you been before working with organizations and universities?
Yes, I very closely work with the universities who want to bring in a sharing philosophy into their hierarchies and systems. And I also I mostly I'm in universities as a live-in mentor slash guide, and then we work towards then we work with systems that they are ready to work with without pushing or changing too much, and slowly we bring in things which can be easily brought in, and then they can take it from there. I of course do talks at universities and mentor especially students individually in having exploring different trajectories in careers, not just one, but you can have different mainstream multi-streaming, instead of mainstreaming. So you can have multi-streaming, and instead of finding a livelihood, you can find a livelihoods which make you feel alive when you work. So changing all these narratives, and yeah, and even for corporates, I design gratitude corners and spaces, and do courageous talks and talk to employees. I'm available sometimes all day to talk to them and listen to their dreams, and how to have a career and still you can layer your dreams within it. You don't need to leave something to get something, but you can balance it all out. So this is the stuff that I do, and there is
And
an opportunity to do so.
and Deepa, I'm asking myself right now, like, okay, you're giving something what you have enough to
Mhm,
university, to organizations, to
mhm,
corporates.
mhm.
How is this energy coming back to you? Because in the classical world, they would say, yeah, you have to write me an invoice. Is
Yeah.
this the way how it works, or is the
Uh,
cosmos working in a different way?
the Cosmos sometimes works in invoices. Some people who say send me an invoice, and I say okay, I'll send you a blank invoice, and you put the amount you want to offer. And sometimes I am supporting some organizations in India, and I say their monthly need is this, so you directly send it to them. And sometimes I say, you can give what you like. And sometimes I say, you can give what you like when you feel what we have spoken or done together has worked for you. So sometimes suddenly some money comes into my bank after 5 years, and I said, okay, something must have worked somewhere. And so there are many ways. And but I, for the last 14 years, mostly I live on gift and contributions. And people say, how can we offer? And I say, well, you can transfer money if you like, you can take me out for a meal, we can go dancing, you can send me a love letter, which I like. Many ways, or send a cake to this old age home which I'm associated with, or go talk to that person in that pet care shelter, she needs support. So I'm connecting people like this all the time. So many ways to serve and to be served. And also I'm deeply in tune with my current needs, and I always make a list of my dream projects. And mostly people say, oh, we can't support you with money, but something else. I said, sure, here's a list, see where you can connect me to somebody. Or if you have if I'm looking for example, a hand drum, and if you have an extra hand drum, send it to me. So many ways to serve. Yeah.
What is
So
the
many.
moment? Sorry, Bastian. What is the moment, Deepa, when you're not smiling in this world? And
Ah,
what needs to happen before?
I think this is a very good question. When I'm not smiling and feeling the world is not enough, mostly when I think I am unable to accept the situation for what it is. When the ego is so strong that it wants the situation to be something else, and when I don't accept the way it is, then that's when I'm suffering. And
And
I
what do
have
you do
to
to overcome?
Sometimes I'm unable to transcend it, so I stay grumpy and eat a big pack of chips, and I allow myself that. And sometimes I am more strong in my inner nature that I can cut through it, and I can say, okay, the yeah, it is going to rain today, and you cannot go and do that thing you plan to do. So accept it. And it's raining, okay, it's a day for rest, grab a book, hot tea, and that's it. Then accept the rain.
Take the good.
So I mean, rain being subjective to anything that is not happening the way I want it to happen. And I live in this world, I mean, uh, so many times things are not working how I want it to work. And that's a very good check to say, nothing is in control, remember that. Yeah. So it's good to remember. It's a good reminder, because sometimes I feel, okay, I've transcended everything. I'm so much at peace and content and so great and inner yoga. And suddenly something will happen, like I'll be hit by a brick on my head, and the universe will remind me it's not done yet. It's, yeah. So remember that. Don't let the ego crawl from behind and catch you. Be aware. So, yeah.
But just take.
Humility, basically, it's when I forget to be humble, that's when I suffer. That's exactly what I wanted to say in so many lines. Yeah.
I was just thinking. You said nothing is under control,
Mm-hmm.
and I added something which I wrote down when we talked before this,
Mm-hmm.
before going live.
Mm-hmm.
When you said that you're acting to tell the universe to show up, which means maybe nothing is under control, which doesn't mean that you're not allowed to act. Or
Sure.
even
Yeah.
it's like the grand imperative to act.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a very it's hard to explain the relationship between free will and destiny. It's very tricky. It cannot be explained, but it can be felt. Like, I feel I was destined to get those three rides in the amusement park, but I chose my free will to go to that festival that day without my partner, alone, to go to these three counters of three different strangers who did not speak probably any English and somehow get a translator to translate what I wanted. This is all part of free will. And yet it was destined that I would get those free rides. It's hard to explain, but it's like this. It's not supposed to be understood, but experienced. These are experiences. And people say, oh, if we do a cycling journey in India, will we also get food and shelter? And I said, you have to do it to know it will happen to you. Sitting here, you don't know, because when you start doing it, that's when things start opening. The path reveals itself as you walk the path.
So it in a way that there are infinite universes waiting for you, and it's your obligation to choose which one you want. And even if you don't choose, you'll get one.
You are getting chosen. Yeah, multiple multiverses. That's what we are playing in.
And
Yes.
Deepa, is there any fear for the future you see in life? I've understood that you're, well, you will be staying here in Germany because you will get married. Probably you will stay here in Europe a bit longer.
Only, yeah, but we both live in the community in India. So,
Okay.
but I have access to come to Europe more often because of easier legalities, to put it like
Okay.
that. Yeah, this is the gift,
So
to see
what
you
is,
guys more often.
yeah.
Please.
And for sure, my home is your castle, Deepa.
Great, there you go. People say, how do you find homes like this?
Yeah, and Deepa, this is something what I have in mind as well. The Bastian knows it quite well. We started years ago about talking about peer mundo, peer
Mhm,
economy.
mhm,
How can we share our resources,
mhm,
skills, money,
mhm,
whatever, to do something that's
mhm,
worth our time, yeah, worth our time, I would say.
mhm,
And in this community, in the Konzernaustausch, so this corporate exchange on self-organization, there are
mhm,
300 people, meanwhile, out of hundreds
mhm,
big Dach corporations,
mhm,
and everyone has a home. Everyone
mhm.
has probably
Yes,
one room left he doesn't need anymore because the
yes,
kids are out. So this means that at least I know I would have the opportunity for an overnight stay or longer in 300 places
yeah,
in the Dach region. So
yeah. Great, good to
yeah,
know. The
yeah.
world is our home. All the homes are our homes.
So
Yeah.
do you see any fear, or probably the Deepa in 30 years?
Mm.
What would she tell you right now?
Wow, I don't know. I didn't think so far, but I think she would say exactly probably what I would say, like who I am today. That, yeah, to that I'm very grateful in this birth of for being given so many opportunities and learnings and so many experiences to expand and heal and grow and to share. It's a blessing. I think she would say exactly this at 72.
Unfortunately, at least for this time,
Mhm,
if we want to stay within what we initially planned, more or less, we are coming a bit to
mhm.
the end of the
Yes.
session, which doesn't mean that is the last one.
Mhm,
You can choose to make another one,
mhm,
and I would be happy to do so.
mhm,
Before we close, is
mhm.
there anything that you would like to share with the audience, with the people who have joined us or will listen to this or watch this later?
Yeah, I mean, talk to strangers, smile at them, share your food with them, ask their dog's name, and find ways to share your things which you're not using and the skills you're good at. Bake a cake for your neighbor, just like that, out of love. So many ways to do all these random acts of kindness, even when nobody is watching or expecting, especially then.
And Deepa, is there something what you could use from the universe out there? So let's call it the call for action to the universe. What's the things you would need at the moment?
Mm, um, I've started the Compassionate Money Project, and I'm looking for 3,000 ambassadors for that project, which means that 3,000 people put maybe in euros, maybe €3 a year to support projects and people across the globe. So all these links are in the document that is with you guys, and maybe you can put it up somewhere, and then people can write to you or me directly, and then we can take it from there.
Okay, we'll do it. We'll do it. So if you have been listening up to this point, and you're asking, where's the damn link? It will be below whatever you clicked. So look at that. Or if you don't find it, then just
Give us a call.
push us a message, call us, send us
Great.
whatever message type fits you, and we'll make sure that you get what you ask for.
Mhm.
This being said, it has been a true pleasure to welcome you here virtually,
Thank you.
digitally. I kind of try to say more digitally than virtually. Virtually is kind of, doesn't feel real. This is real. We are not AI. We are real people talking. It was a real pleasure to have you.
Danke.
Hoping to see you. Maybe even next week if you're in Hamburg. I would
Sure.
be delighted
Sure.
to
Yeah.
see you. Maybe Rainer will also stick around.
Yes.
Let's just work on this. And to everyone who has been part of this, listening in live or otherwise, thank you for being there. Thank you for connecting with us in this way. And we'll be happy to welcome you again on this
Thank you.
show. So I'm going to run the outro. Have a wonderful day, everyone, everywhere, in
Yes.
whatever universe, all at once.
Yes.
Have a wonderful time.
Yeah, trust the universe and enjoy the ride.